Are you thinking about making a move to North Idaho? I have some must-see tips and information about relocating that you need to know ahead of time. So welcome back, everybody. I get asked this a lot, especially from people moving here from other areas. And I want to share with you guys some tips on relocating to North Idaho. Some of this stuff you don't know about until you get into this process, and then it's kind of too late to figure out, oh, I should have expected this or expected that. And you kind of come across a lot of hurdles along the way. So I like to try and tell people ahead of time, give them some tips and some must-know items about moving to North Idaho that will smooth that transition out. So first and foremost, one of the worst things I can hear as an agent, especially when I'm working with sellers, is, I'm selling this house because I had no idea that this place that I moved to was so busy. There's a highway behind this house. The realtor that we had showed me 2 or 3 houses, and we picked this one, and by the time we moved here, we had no idea that I was 45 minutes away from work, for example. So one of the things I really like to do with my buyer clients who are moving here from out of state is making sure that they're familiar with the difference in the areas around Kootenai County. Coeur d'Alene is obviously the county seat and, the most notorious area around North Idaho, but we've also got Hayden, Post Falls, Rathdrum, Spirit Lake, Athol, and even further north up towards Sandpoint and Bonners Ferry. All of these areas have different amenities. They have different schools. They have different accessibility. They have, different activities and scenery, and even to a certain extent, different personalities. And within those different cities, there are communities that serve different needs and, again, kind of have different culture or different personalities. So depending on who you are and what you're looking for, you want to make sure that you're researching the areas, because the last thing you want to do is be in Athol when you are really a downtown Coeur d'Alene type of person. Okay, so next tip is research the schools. Obviously not everyone who moves to North Idaho is in need of knowing about K through 12 schools, but if you are that individual, make sure you research the schools. The Coeur d'Alene School District includes Coeur d'Alene and Hayden, and it's the largest school district of all of them in North Idaho. They have the largest number of elementary, middle, and high schools. Then you get into the Lakeland School District, over in Rathdrum, and goes up towards Athol and some of those other county areas. The number of schools is fewer. And then you've got Post Falls, and they've got a number of elementary and middle schools, but they've only got the one high school at this point in time. So you also maybe be interested in private schools, charter schools, or schools with a religious leaning. So research the schools, and a real estate agent here in North Idaho can point you directly to where you need to go. There's a lot of different websites that rank the schools as well. So if that's important to you, research the schools, because you don't want to be in the Post Falls School District if it's important for your kids to go to Coeur d'Alene High School for a particular class or a particular sport. So research those schools, and we can help you with that. Next thing that we get asked a lot when moving and relocating is, how do I find a job? What type of employers do you have up there? Obviously, outside of ZipRecruiter and Indeed and Craigslist and all sorts of online job postings, one of the things that I like to let people know a lot about in our area is that we have a pretty strong community up here, and certain few industries really dominate in terms of the number of employees and also the strength of that sector. Technology and technology manufacturing, information technology is a big industry up here. So is aerospace. Aerospace, we sit on a aerospace corridor which runs between central Washington and into Montana, And along this I-90 corridor, and including Idaho and Eastern Washington, there's a lot of aerospace manufacturers and aerospace technology companies here in this area. Another thing that we see a lot of is financial services. Lots of banks, financial planning, lending, and real estate as well, other professional services. Hospitality is clearly another big industry. Entertainment, food, restaurants, bars, and resorts. And, that even includes recreation, golfing, skiing, all those things we could throw under the hospitality umbrella. So all of those are big industries up here. And then right now, because we're booming, construction is a huge industry up here. So we have a shortage of skilled labor that could include electricians, plumbers, framers, excavators, all sorts of things like that, not just for homes, but for commercial properties, and then also for infrastructure. So those are kind of the biggest sectors of employers that we have up here. You'll have great luck finding jobs in those sectors. Next thing on the list is a lot of people move up to North Idaho and they assume that this is a small area. One thing that I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but it's not as small town as a lot of people think it is. And so when you're relocating here, understand that if you're looking for space or you're looking for small town feel, there are going to be certain areas that give you that and certain areas that don't. But overall, we are a metro area here in the inland Northwest, which includes Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We have nearly 750,000 people that live between Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. So it is not as small town as people assume that it's going to be. And so if that's what you're looking for, this may not be the place. So another thing that we talk about with clients in terms of relocation, they kind of pinpoint Idaho because they think the population's not huge there. There's a lot of space, so it's probably really affordable. Unfortunately, again, another bubble burster, it's not as affordable as people assume. One of the things that we struggle here, obviously, is not necessarily the inflation of gas prices or milk. I know that, yes, that does affect everybody, but the housing market has just gone gangbusters and rental rates have gone through the roof as well. So it can be really tough to find something that makes the dollar go a really long ways. And there's a lot of competition for rentals and for homes, and so it can be tough to secure something. So just know that it's not as affordable as a lot of people assume it's going to be. Next thing on our list is one of the things that I love to tell people after letting them know that it's not as affordable as it might be is that we actually really do have really low property taxes. And just recently, about a week ago, our legislature passed a bill to reduce income taxes as well. Because Idaho's regulatory environment tends to be a little bit more conservative, there's fewer regulations on things, and so we have a $2 billion surplus as a state, which is insane, especially for as small as we are, that we're in the favorable position where we can try and extend, certain expense relief to the residents of Idaho by way of property taxes and really affordable, and just recently kind of shaved off some of the income taxes that we owe here in this state. Another thing that I want to touch on is in North Idaho, I know we're really close to the Canadian border. You think of Idaho as this really rural community, but we're 45 minutes away from an international airport. One of the things I love to tell people, or people find that important, is especially with the purchasers in our community over the last couple of years have been a lot of people who are coming here for second homes, who want space, and their employer said, you know what, you can start working remote, maybe just pop into the office once or twice a month for a meeting, or people, who are looking to go somewhere, maybe move from a higher populated state to something a little bit calmer and less populated, but you want to still be able to get home and see your family for Christmas, or go see your grandkids, or, a lot of people up here own second homes and they snowbird where they've got a nice property in a warmer place. You can fly out of Spokane International Airport. They've got tons of direct flights all over the West and even back east. And so it's really easy to be here and maybe jump back to Western Washington or Oregon or somewhere in California to see your friends and your family, and also vacation and travel. Kind of one of the next things that I try and educate people about here in relocating to North Idaho now kind of comes more onto the logistical end of things. I really, really highly recommend working with a local lender. And when I say a local lender, that could even be someone who's slightly regional. We have a lot of banks that are regional between Washington and Montana and Oregon. Even regional is okay, but I really highly recommend working with a local lender because they know the climate that we're in. They're familiar with the craziness of our market. The appraisers here and the underwriters at these local lenders are also familiar. I have had deals come into major stalls and or jeopardize the closing of deals at the 11th hour because the underwriter from Oregon or the underwriter from Utah didn't understand why some of the comps were coming in low on that appraisal. And they didn't match the purchase price of the house. And when you're trying to explain to someone who lives in Utah what's going on in North Idaho, it can be really difficult. And also when the lender is that far away, they don't have that personal relationship. They're not seeing us at local events. They're not seeing us downtown. We're not seeing each other's families out at the parks and in the streets and as our neighbors. So it's a lot easier to dismiss a need when you never see that person and you're living 5 states away than when you live in this community and you want to do everything you can to help the homeowners. So always connect with a local lender. Your agent should be able to give you a number of great options. Next thing I want to say is obviously connect ahead of time with a local agent, someone who knows all of these areas, that can help you do this research, that can help you find information on schools and builders, and who can be the boots on the ground for you. One thing that happens a lot in relocation is you can't be here every time a house comes on the market to see it in person. And unfortunately, the climate that we're in, a lot of sellers don't want to wait a week to 2 weeks for a buyer to come up from California or Colorado or from Western Washington. They don't want to wait and let a buyer come in and see the house only for it to fall apart because they didn't ever walk the property or see it in person. So a lot of agents are going to be boots on the ground for you, and you might have a scenario where you have multiple offers you're competing against. You might write multiple offers on multiple houses before you secure something. So you want to have an agent who's available, who knows the area, that can strategize with you as well on how to best relocate and set the expectation right for you. Work with a lender, work with a local inspector, make sure that appraisals get done and that everything's closing on time. And then also working with your lender on remote signings and getting closing docs back in time. All of those things are the moving parts that your agent should handle. Get an established local agent to help you with that stuff. It will save you so much headache and bring a lot of peace of mind. Now, last but not least, I want you to understand, if you're relocating to Idaho, I know it can get exciting, and when we get excited and we get a bee in our bonnet, all we want to do is jump on that opportunity and make it happen now. But the nature of our current market is that a lot of things are really hard to make happen, especially in a relocation scenario. It's hard to make those things happen quickly. So allow yourself some time. Don't go to an agent or call an agent in North Idaho and say, I saw this house online. I want to write an offer on it. That's not going to work. You really want to set a goal, put a timeline together, have the proper expectations, put a team together, not only, your list agent where you live, but the buyer's agent in the new community and that lender. Have everyone communicating and working together allow that time. I promise you, it's maddening because people want things done yesterday, but it will ensure that the process is smooth. It will ensure that you're not settling or being relocated into a community that you're not vibing with or doesn't fit your needs, and it will make sure that there's no hiccups along the way, especially detrimental ones that might jeopardize your earnest money or even your sanity. So if you have any questions, I hope you took some notes here and you found some of these tips valuable. If you're working with someone else, great, but if not, give me a call. I can absolutely put together a strategy for you on getting up here to North Idaho. But again, if you ever have comments or questions that I did not answer, or you've got a particular scenario that you find yourself in that maybe I wasn't able to answer here, drop your question in the comments. I'll make sure to answer. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. As always, we put videos out weekly. Next week, we might have a video that's got some content that really resonates with you about your move to North Idaho or about questions about North Idaho. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.